Hello everyone, Speedrunner 0-18 here, and welcome back to the 386 Speedrun Challenge, where we see how fast each Pokemon can speedrun Pokémon Leafgreen. Thank you all so much for 300 subscribers. I know I'm a bit late with delivering this special to YouTube, but I've just been growing so fast it's hard to keep up. But thank you so much for the growth. Anyway, let's get back to the race. In the last race it was Mew vs Celebi. This time we are doing the Johto legendary beasts. These Pokemon are notorious for being difficult as to catch in any Pokemon game they're in. Mainly Gold, Silver, Crystal, their remakes, as well as Fire Red and Leaf Green. It was made even more difficult with the glitch where if Raikou or Entei used Roar, they would permanently leave the game. How did they not discover this glitch? I will never know. Getting into the legendary beasts themselves, they all have a base stat total of 580, but their stats are very different. For Raikou, its best stats are its special attack and its speed, which should help a lot since electric is special and outspeeding opponents is key. For Entei, its strongest stats are its HP, attack, and speed. Its speed isn't as good as Raikou's, but 100 is enough to outspeed most Pokemon. Its defenses are really bad though, so I predict Brock is going to be hell. For Suicune, its best stats are its defensive stats. Its speed and attack is the worst among all the Johto beasts, and its special attack ties Entei's. With a wide variety of strengths and weaknesses for the beasts, along with semi-similar level up moveset and TM learn set, this is going to be a very interesting race. Here are the rules for this challenge. I'll put them in the description if you need to reference them later. If you also happen to like this series and would like to see more, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. Now, let's do this. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm also working on a new way of scripting these races out as well, so you can see the first round of all 3 Pokemon at once. Let me know what you think of this method in the comments. Let's start with the rival fight. I always replace Bulbasaur in this series, so the rival consistently has Gyarados and Charizard. Everyone here basically has the same strategy with this fight, since they all start with Bite and Leer. Leer won't help for Bite since Bite is a special move, which is pretty stupid, but oh well, let's move on. As the Pokemon move through Viridian Forest, they're all stuck with Bite as an attacking move. At level 11 though, each Pokemon gets access to a stab move. Thundershock for Raikou, Ember for Entei, and Bubble Beam for Suicune. Thundershock and Ember won't really help much for Brock, but Suicune is going to have the easiest time. Funny thing is, Ember is only 40 base power with Thundershock, so even if you account for Stab, which gives a 50% bonus to moves with the same type as the Pokemon, Bite is still just as strong as a Stab Ember or a Stab Thundershock. Plus Brock's Pokemon aren't resistant to fire, so it's easiest for everyone to just spam Bite. Raikou has an easy fight with Brock since his Pokemon have no ground moves and isn't weak to Rock Tomb. I don't need to describe how well Suicune goes either. Entei, on the other hand, has the hardest time as you could have predicted at the start. His Onix tends to use Rock Tomb, but Brock has this weird thing with the AI where sometimes he won't use Rock Tomb if you're low on health, so due to him not spamming the living hell out of Rock Tomb, Entei was able to beat Brock pretty quickly, but not as quickly as everyone else. Something new I'll be doing in these races is discussing the split time of each Pokemon after each major checkpoint. The checkpoints will be Brock, Surge, obtaining the Pokeflute, defeating Giovanni for the 3rd time, and entering the Hall of Fame, which is where we get the in-game time too, which is all that matters. Anyway, here are the Brock splits. Suicune gets a nice lead at the start, but we'll see how long it can keep it up, or if Entei can catch up later. Also, remember these splits are in real time. The runs are timed with in-game time, but this should serve as a general purpose for who is doing better. The trainers on Route 3 go basically the same for all the beasts, but Entei has access to Ember and is able to take care of the bug types pretty easily, while the other ones have to use Bite to kill all the bugs. Entei is the final one to enter Mount Moon. As Entei enters Mount Moon, Raikou and Suicune are almost done with the mandatory trainers at the end, which are easily taken care of with Bite and Thundershock or Bubble Beam. Suicune is the first one to begin fighting Rival 2. His team goes down to Bubble Beam spamming on most of his team. As soon as Suicune enters Route 24, Raikou takes the second route and fights Misty directly. With Thundershock, this fight is barely worth talking about. Well, my speed's too low, I'll just go fight Rival 2 instead. When Entei gets out of Mount Moon, it takes the same route and fights Rival 2 as well. Entei doesn't have as good a time as the rest, since Entei's special attack isn't as great as the others, and Bite and Ember are all special moves, but it ends up winning the fight pretty easily. Route 24 and 25 go basically the same for all the Johto beasts. The hiker with the Onyx is pretty difficult for Entei, but nothing a couple of bites can't solve. After getting the SS ticket, they take down the innocent bystander quite easily, and they all fight Misty. Raikou spams her team with Thundershock, Suicune spams Bite, and Entei spams Bite as well. I'm surprised Entei didn't struggle too much with her, but the over-leveling probably helped. After getting the Cascade badge, all three head down to the SS Sand and fight Rival 3. This fight is generally easy no matter who you use in a solo speedrun challenge, and these Pokemon help prove that true. Raikou does struggle at this fight a little, mainly due to accuracy drops from the flying Pidgeotto, but that's nothing really new. After leaving the SS Sand and buying some Super Repels and Super Potions, everyone goes and fights Lieutenant Surge, the next split in the speedrun. For Raikou, I thought I would learn Dig to help with Lieutenant Surge. It does help a lot, but the main problem is if I teach Dig to someone other than Rattata, and if I delete Dig off of Raikou, I'd better have escape ropes, otherwise I won't be able to escape out of places or commit property damage as easily, so I'd better be careful. But Raikou gets a surge split of 14 minutes and 45 seconds. For Entei, I also try to teach Dig. Entei's attack is the best out of the three, so it isn't that bad at all, and it clocks in at 16 minutes and 3 seconds. Suicune I refused to teach Dig to, and I tried to use a Rain Dance Bubble Beam strategy. It isn't often I get a weather move this early in a speedrun, so I figured it would help. It was able to OHKO the Voltorb and Pikachu, and the Raichu was a 2-hit, which is basically the norm. I rarely see Raichu go down in one hit, but it's still enough to get a split time of 12 minutes and 35 seconds. So far, Suicune is maintaining its lead against the other three, with Raikou falling behind and giving Entei a chance to catch up. This race is definitely getting tense, but we'll see how it goes once we get to the next split, which will be obtaining the Pokeflute. After getting the Thunder Badge, everyone gets the bike voucher, goes back to Cerulean for the bike, and enter Rock Tunnel. Raikou has the easiest time in here since it has Bite for the Cubone and Shockwave for the Slowpoke. Entei just has Bite for the Slowpoke, which is still good due to Slowpoke's Dark-type weakness. Suicune actually no longer has Bite and was taught Secret Power since Suicune's special attack isn't that great, and it's better to use Stab Water moves for high damage, so I just gave it a good physical attack. You know, Secret Power is the remake's version of the TM for Body Slam in Gen 1, since a lot of Pokemon can learn Secret Power and has a 70 base power, and depending on the environment it can paralyze the opponent. On the hikers, since Bite is a special move and Geodude and Graveler have weak special defense, Raikou and Entei have an easy time with them, even though they don't have Bubble Beam. Entei does take huge amount of damage from Onyx, but nothing a potion or two can't solve. I'm gonna go off script here for a second, and just talk about me using items in these runs. I've been getting comments asking why I use items, or if the items make them too easy, but in my opinion, I like to do my runs as like blind speed runs of sorts, to see if given everything the game has at its disposal, how fast can a Pokemon go through the game, and they all get 2 opportunities to do it. I mean, the items are allowed in speedruns, so I allow them in this series, but whenever someone asks if using items or stuff like Double Team makes stuff too easy, I'll just ask him this. What is more impressive to you? A weak Pokemon, let's say Poochyena. What's more impressive? A level 75 Poochyena OHKOing all of Koga's Pokemon? or with items, a Poochyena can beat him at level 45. Obviously using items is faster, and I allow items to increase strategy because some Pokemon will get faster times because they won't need to use many items, or X items, but Pokemon that are weak as hell are going to need a lot of items, so it makes them slower. And if I don't allow items, a lot of Pokemon are going to end up finishing at very high levels, and a majority of the speedrun will literally just be grinding. So that's the reason I don't really use items, but I figured I should explain it, so there you go. Once they get to Celadon City, they go enter the Rocket Hideout. Suicune is the first one to enter since it didn't have to heal its Celadon first, while Raikou and Entei did. Okay, Suicune did use the center, but it was at Lavender Town since Suicune was poisoned and ran out of antidotes. I may need to buy some more antidotes for round 2 since Suicune can't OHKO stuff as easily as the other two can. On Giovanni, Raikou takes out the rock types with Bite and uses Shockwave on Kangaskhan. Due to Raikou's high special attack, it goes down pretty quickly, which is kinda surprising, since Kangaskhan is a defensive tank. Entei tries to take down the rock types with Dig, but it only did like half of their health, so I think it would have been better to use Bite, since even though they are weak to ground attacks, their defense stat is still very high, so Bite would have done more damage, especially since I gave Raikou and Entei the black glasses to make Bite a 66 base power move. Suicune has a really easy time with the rock types due to Bubble Beam, but Kangaskhan is very tough to take down, especially since Suicune's offensive stats are terrible for a legendary, but Kangaskhan goes down after several Bubble Beams. I tried using Rain Dance at the start, but it didn't make much of a difference since it would go away by the time I arrive at Kangaskhan or a turn or two after. Now for the fun part, shopping. Besides the usual super potions and super repels, for Raikou, I buy 3x defense, 12x speeds, 8x attack, 5 guard spec, 31x specials. For Entei, I buy 10x defend, 11x speed, 8x special, 6 guard spec, and 11x attack. For Suicune, I buy 6x attack, 3x defend, 7x speed, 6 guard spec, and 30x special. I always buy a bit of everything in the first round, but by round 2, everyone will need completely different X items. But right now, let's talk about Rival 4 and how Marowak gets punished today. Rival 4 is generally the easiest since no matter who is used in these playthroughs, they will always be a higher level by a huge factor. Raikou was able to take care of everything with Shockwave and Bite. Entei took down Pidgeotto with Secret Power since attack is its best stat, but Gyarados proved very difficult, making me heal on him with a potion or two. Suicune had the most difficult time, especially with Execute. With Suicune only having a water and a normal move, and with Execute's defenses being so high, it means that it is very difficult to take down. It also doesn't help that Suicune has the worst attack and special attack of the three. It makes me wonder if this major con with Suicune will be the downfall in this race, but it ends up winning on the second try after having to leave and use the Poke Center to try again at full health. At the top of the tower, Suicune drowns the Marowak to hell with Bubble Beam, while Raikou and Entei spammed Bite on her, allowing them to rescue Mr. Fuji and obtain the Poke Flute, which is the next checkpoint. Suicune is still maintaining the real-time lead for now, while Raikou and Entei are basically deadlocked. Raikou did fall a bit behind in real time since it died to Marowak and had to redo the rival fight again since that was the last time I had saved the game. Man, this is getting very tense. The in-game time winner could end up not being the real-time winner. Let's see who can get to Giovanni first. Let's talk about all the major gym and rival fights, starting with Raikou. After obtaining the Poke Flute, the first major battle Raikou takes on is Koga after doing the Safari Zone crap. This fight ends up being pretty easy after a couple of X specials, along with a move that never misses being Shockwave. Having a no-miss move really helps negate Smokescreen and minimize on Muck. After that, Raikou goes straight to Silphco to take on Rival 5. On Rival 5, it used Roar to get rid of Pidgeot, so it can't use Whirlwind to switch out Raikou while using X items with Whirlwind. This is pretty helpful strategy. I really should implement other speedrun challenges with any Pokemon that can learn the TM for Roar. It would save me time from depositing my HM users in the PC first. Giovanni also goes pretty well, since the Pokemon Raikou sets up on is not ground type, so no worries about dying from that. I also realized that if I was going to forget Dig for return, I probably should have grabbed an escape rope first, but I think for round 2, I'll just have Dig put on Rattata instead. Dig hasn't really been too helpful in this run. On Sabrina, she is a simple sweep with Bite after 2 X specials. On Erica, Raikou is absolutely over-leveled as f***, so she goes down with Bite. Blaine was also very easy to deal with, since Raikou, along with the other Johto beasts, can learn Calm Mind. I did have to use Roar to switch out Growlithe, since it can use its own Roar to switch me out, which would be no bueno, but the rest of his team goes down to Calm Mind boosted Shockwaves. Finally, Giovanni. Raikou is one of the 2 beasts to be weak to ground type moves, so this had to be planned carefully. I also replaced Shockwave with Spark, since Spark is 5 base power points stronger than Shockwave. A no-miss move is nice for Agatha though, but I think the extra bit of power will help, especially with Stab. If you include it, Spark is a 97.5 base power move versus Shockwave's 90. Anyway, for Giovanni, I had to use some X defense to survive Earthquake. I then realized I didn't have enough, so after returning to the gym with more of them, I used some X defense on Raikou, along with Calm Mind so I can spam Bite on his entire team. Raikou gets the Earth Badge with a real time of 49 minutes and 40 seconds. Now let's get to Entei. After getting the Pokeflute, it goes straight for Erica since it'll have the easiest time with her. It's just a simple sweep with Bite. I guess it would have been worth keeping Ember solely for this fight, but oh well, that's a no for round 2. After Erica, Entei goes straight to Koga. Entei doesn't have a no-miss move like Raikou did, but Entei uses a 10,000 IQ move. After KOing the Coughing, Entei sets up on Muck. Even though it used Minimize, which would be pretty bad, an unknown feature of Stomp in these games is if the opponent used Minimize, the Stomp will actually do double the damage, which makes it even more powerful than a maxed out return. Not often I get to use that strategy, but it sure was fun. After Koga, Entei goes straight to Rival 5. Entei used the similar strategy of roaring out Pidgeot to set up on someone else, and just spams return after a couple of X attacks. Giovanni was also kind of tricky since Entei's also weak to ground, but had an easy time with X defense and X attacks. I think Entei may be the only one in round 2 who will rely on physical moves for a huge chunk of the game, but we'll see. On Sabrina, since her team is very weak to physical moves, the strategy to win was just spam return. On Blaine, Entei no longer had Roar, so couldn't switch out to Growlithe, but it did take down Growlithe pretty quickly, set up a few Calm Minds on Ponyta, and then spam Bite on everyone else. Giovanni was the final gym leader for Entei. The key, quite similar to Raikou's, was use a guard spec to prevent Scary Face, X defense to survive Earthquake, set up Calm Minds, and spam Bite on his team. After doing that, Entei gets the Earth Badge with a real time of 45 minutes and 47 seconds. Entei is actually now ahead of Raikou. That is very surprising. Let's see how Suicune does to get the Earth Badge. After obtaining the Pokeflute, Suicune ends up fighting Rival 5 right away. I teach Suicune Surf over Bubble Beam, which is way more powerful than Bubble Beam, at 135 base power with Stab. Plus that with Rain Dance. Oh boy, that's gonna do a ton of damage. On Pidgeot, Suicune sets up Rain Dance, takes down Pidgeot with 2 Surfs, and immediately has a difficult time with Execute. Suicune doesn't get a good move to deal with it until level 41 with Aurora Beam. I probably should have kept Bite on Suicune for this fight, but like I always say, that is a note for round 2. But after a try or two, Suicune slowly but surely wins the fight after depositing the HM user since Suicune did not have Roar. Giovanni was very easy with a water type move, so no need to talk about it. After Suicune commits actual property damage at the Sylph Company, it goes straight to Sabrina as the 4th gym leader. After a couple of X attacks, Suicune kills the Psychic types with Return, and Venomoth goes down with Surf. The next gym leader for Suicune is Erica. I gave Suicune some rare candies to level it up to level 41 to learn Aurora Beam, which makes Erica a breeze. Koga, on the other hand, wasn't too easy. Coughing ends up going down kamikaze style by self-destruct, and Muck went down after a couple of surfs boosted by Rain Dance. Okay, this wasn't even hard at all. Blaine was just as easy as you'd expect. Blaine plus a stab water move equals Mega Million Stonks. Giovanni is the easiest with Suicune due to being water type. After a few Calm Minds, his team goes down to a mix of Aurora Beam and Surf. After that, Suicune gets the Earth Badge with a real time of 43 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, these are interesting times. Suicune was able to maintain its first place lead, but Entei is only 2.5 real minutes behind, with Raikou in dead last place. Let's see how the final 6 fights go for everyone. Let's do this shit. On Rival 6, Entei sets up some Calm Minds on Pidgeot and spams Spark and Bite on his team. Entei does a similar strategy but with only Bite, since he still doesn't have a Fire type move yet. I could have taught Fire Blast, but it's really too inaccurate, so I didn't want to use it. Suicune sets up Calm Minds and spams Surf and Aurora Beam on his team. Very similar strategies for everyone involved. At Lorelei, Raikou has the easiest time since having an electric move is key to winning this fight consistently and quickly. Raikou did have to leave the league after winning since I forgot to stock up on more X items, but Raikou wins again pretty easily. Entei has a very hard time with her due to being a Fire type, but luckily since Calm Mind raises special defense too, Entei is able to win the fight pretty easily, although pretty slowly, and it finally learns Flamethrower, which is taught over Stomp. Believe it or not, Suicune actually has the hardest time with Lorelei. Suicune knows no good moves to take her team down. My solution here was to rely on physical moves. I didn't need to set up Calm Mind since Suicune already resisted water and ice moves. I just used some X attacks and spammed return on her entire team. Now for Bruno. Raikou had to use some X defense in order to survive Earthquake, use some Calm Minds, and spam Bite and Spark on his entire team. I also have Raikou learn Reflect, since that'll save time over using X defense. Entei also had to use some X defense for the same reason as Raikou, set up some Calm Minds, and spam Bite and Flamethrower. It's a good thing Entei has this great move, because taking down his fighting types with Bite would be a literal nightmare. That was way too close. Suicune has an easy time with Bruno's Onix, and Bruno's fighting types go down to Surf boosted by some Calm Minds. Agatha was generally the easiest for all 3 of the Johto beasts. Raikou and Entei won the fight by setting up Calm Minds and spamming Bite. Suicune didn't have Bite though, but spamming Surf worked just fine. The first Gengar could have been tricky to take down if it set up too many double teams, but the fight goes pretty fine for me. Now for Lance. Raikou sets up some X speeds, Calm Minds, a couple of Reflects here and there to prevent getting killed from Hyper Beam, and then spams Bite. Entei sets up Calm Minds and spams Bite. Luckily, Gyarados has no water moves here, so Entei has no threats. Suicune set up some Calm Minds already, and it spams Aurora Beam on most of his Pokemon. It used Surf on Aerodactyl since that would do the most damage. Now, on to the champion. For Raikou, I set up some guard specs to prevent sand attacks, Calm Minds, some X speeds, and spam Bite and Spark for the win. For Entei, I also use guard specs, Calm Minds, and spam Flamethrower. I do use Bite on Alakazam, Gyarados, and Charizard, because Bite would have worked better anyway. For Suicune, I do the same stuff as the other beasts in terms of Calm Minds, guard specs, and other shit like that, and I spam Surf on his team right after using Aurora Beam to KO his Pidgeot. These Johto beasts are similar in a lot of ways, yet very different at the same time. It's a great thing that they can all learn the TM for Calm Mind. If I also needed Bulk Up, which is Calm Mind but for physical attack and defense, it's located in Silphco where Swords Dance is in Red and Blue, but I'll worry about that once I use a Pokemon who can actually learn it. But let's see how well these legendary beasts did on their first round. Raikou speedran Pokémon Leafgreen with an in-game time of 4 hours and 35 minutes and a real time of 1 hour, 1 minute, 53 seconds. Entei got an in-game time of 4 hours and 57 minutes and a real time of 55 minutes and 1 second. Suicune got an in-game time of 4 hours and 36 minutes and a real time of 53 minutes and 45 seconds. This is why I don't use real time as a metrics. Even though Raikou and Suicune's real times were so far apart, in-game wise, they were only a minute or so apart. Entei was really far behind, but maybe with better routing and execution, these Pokemon can do so much better. Maybe Entei could get second place. Let's go take a look at round 2. I figured since this video was getting too long, I decided for this video, I'll show a time lapse of the 3 Johto beasts speeding through round 2. I hope you enjoy. If you like the round 2 of races this way, please let me know in the comments. I won't do it for single Pokemon videos, but if you guys like it, I'll only do it for videos with multiple Pokemon in them. Anyway, here's the time lapse. I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. Raikou ended up finishing Pokémon Leafgreen with a final in-game time of 4 hours and 23 minutes. That is a 12-minute improvement from last time. Not too much of one, but still a great time nonetheless. Entei got a final in-game time of 5 hours and 12 minutes, which is 15 minutes slower. I really screwed up some of the fights. Plus, some of the fights were just so unlucky. I guess for Entei, we'll stick to the round 1 time since it is faster, which makes Entei the slowest legendary we did so far. But another problem arises is that Houndoom and Entei are tied on the leaderboards. When this happens, the lower level wins, but they both finished at level 55, meaning they're basically equal. If this happens, I'll decide it with a coin flip. I made Entei call heads, and the coin flip resulted in tails, so Entei will be at 10th place while Houndoom is in 9th place. Finally, Suicune got a final in-game time of 4 hours and 8 minutes. That is the fastest among the legendary beasts, which makes Suicune the winner of this race. It didn't beat Mew's time, but it did beat Celebi's, but just barely. This was a really interesting race. Even though the legendary beasts look very similar, you no longer think that once you start using them in battle. I honestly thought Raikou was going to win this entire race, but Suicune had a lot of stuff going for it, such as having very powerful water moves, and water just being a very good type in this game. I can't wait to do more races, but for now, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune gets 4th, 10th, and 2nd place on the leaderboards, and 4th, 8th, and 2nd place among all legendary Pokemon. It looks like our next race is going to be Ho-Oh and Lugia versus Mewtwo. This race will be done once we hit 600 subscribers. Let's go for it. That's all I got for you. If you like this series, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next speedrun.